Hello, welcome to the Digital DJ Tips Studio on a Tuesday, which means it's Tuesday live lesson. This is when we open up the school to have basically a question or a piece of news or a tutorial based on something new on a piece of DJ gear, something from the school that isn't just for our students, it's also for anyone who tunes in on YouTube or Facebook or indeed Twitch. So hello wherever you're watching us. I'm Phil Morse, tutor here at Digital DJ Tips, and today we've got our question, our teaching point is nothing to do with DJ gear. Because we've been talking about DJ gear one hell of a lot recently, haven't we? We've had lots of new DJ gear launches, we've had lots of debates, we've had lots of buying guides, we've had lots of this one or that one. Absolutely nothing to do with anything like that at all today. Instead, it's to do with this, which is something that was sent in to us and it got us chatting here in the studio, and we thought it'd be a good thing to get you involved in as well. So this is all about you as much as it's about us. We'll talk about it, but we want your input. You're going to steer today's lesson. So this is what our student wrote. Anyone ever done a private birthday party and found that the music they want isn't what you expect? I know not all bangers work with all crowds, but which crowd of 30 to 40 somethings has never heard of Groove is in the Heart or Bananarama's Venus? Anyone else had an experience like this? They ended up going off to Sweet Caroline and Take Me Home Country Roads. Go figure. And that was from DJ Eddie Monsoon. It's a brilliant comment. There's so much to unpack in there. So thank you very, very much, Eddie, for being honest and coming in with that in the community. And actually, Eddie did the right thing because Eddie experimented. He figured out that what they really wanted was Sweet Caroline and Take Me Home Country Roads. And he turned it around. He made it work. But this brings up a question, which is the title of today's live show, which is hits of the time versus timeless hits. Is there a difference here? And is there something we can learn from here? So to paraphrase what Eddie was saying there, Eddie's playing a birthday party. He puts D-Light's Groove is in the Heart on. He puts Bananarama's Venus on. You know, the age group is such that they will remember these tracks, but they didn't work. No one was into it. And then it turns out that much older music, Sweet Caroline and, you know, a bit of Neil Young, bit of Country Roads is exactly what was required. And Eddie's basically asking for feedback. Now, there's a lot of comments in our community on that as well, but we thought we'd pull this out for you guys and girls. And I want to approach it from that question. Hits of the time versus timeless hits. Because I think there is a difference and there is a lesson here to learn. So when we talk about those songs that were mentioned there by Eddie, I think we could probably say the hits of the time would have been Venus by Bananarama, would have been D-Light's Groove is in the Heart. You know, big songs at the time. Are they still big songs though? Have they stood the test of time? And then we've got on the other side, already, I think we can be pretty sure that these are now timeless hits, right? Sweet Caroline, Take Me Home Country Roads, and so on. Is there a difference? There's an obvious difference, I think, which is that the Bananarama song and the D-Light song are dance hits. They are of the time insofar as the feel of them, the instruments, what they're based upon was the other music that was around at the time, if you like. Whereas Take Me Home Country Roads and Sweet Caroline seem to have just kind of transcended all of that. But also, they're not dance hits. They are sing-along records. So is there a difference here between sing-along songs where the crowd just want to sing along to songs that it's almost like football anthems, like terrace anthems, that are bigger than dance floors, they're bigger than discos, they're bigger than birthday parties. They are the songs of everyone's time, the songs of our existence as humans, if you like. Whereas, you know, your Groove is in the Hearts and so on, maybe they don't have that crossover appeal. Maybe they were hits of the time, but they're not timeless hits. I don't know, this is all about you talking about this to us and us discussing this together. Have you been in that situation? Have you been in a situation where you're playing music which appears to be perfect for the time? At least it did when you packed your crate, and it wasn't. It didn't work. What did you do to turn it around? What did you learn from that? I think one piece of advice that we always teach mobile DJs, and that is good advice is if you're going to be playing to a large range of ages, which is often the case at weddings, not so much at birthday parties maybe, then certainly look for the music which was around and current when the oldest people in your crowd were young. In other words, if you've got some 40 or 50 or 60-year-olds, what were the big tunes from like when they were 15, 16, 17, 18? You know, meeting boys, meeting girls, going out, listening to music, when pop music was important to them. What were the big tunes then? And then move forward. And then you can move forward to the younger people in the crowd as well and ask the same question. It kind of gives you a rough set of music to play. But of course, if you were doing that, then the tracks that didn't work in Eddie's set would have been on your shortlist because they haven't transcended everything to become just timeless classics. Because what we're doing there is focusing on songs from certain times to try and please certain members of our audience. And so I think a couple of other things to throw in here before we start chatting about it together. The first thing is, maybe it's worth, when you're looking at the range of music that you program and play for a set, thinking about the music that the people in your crowd heard when they were kids, because their parents would have played music to them. I've played music, obviously, clearly I'm a DJ, right? I've played music all the way through my kids' lives to them. They've heard music that was written and that was big 20 years before they were even born. But they know it. And to kids, there's no difference between that music and the music they're hearing for the first time on the radio or whatever. But that does bring me round to a second. So maybe going back further is a good idea, which in this instance would have included, you know, the Neil Young song, etc. But the second thing I want to say is that nowadays in our culture, there is a definite move towards, and when we discussed this in the studio before we came live, when we were discussing what we were going to talk about today, there is definitely a move now in pop music towards this idea that pop music is maturing, it's growing up, it's not the bright thing now which is exciting and red hot and, you know, that divides people down the middle, and people wear clothes based on the pop music they like and they fight each other based on the music they like, and they're either in this tribe or that tribe. That doesn't appear to be the thing anymore. Pop music's kind of grown up past all that, and the companies have got their teeth into it, the songwriters have got their teeth into it, the industry has become something that can churn out formulaic music which is designed to appeal to everyone, because there are formulas now for all the music that was once really fresh and exciting: dance, rock, reggae, soul, R&B, etc, etc, hip-hop. They've all got their own formulas, and there are whole industries, whole studios, whole sets of producers, whole sets of songwriters, whole delivery chains that are based around just doing a really, really good job of that kind of music. But what's happened is it started to recycle itself. There was a band in the 80s called Pop Will Eat Itself, and I always liked that title because to me that they were onto something even back then. Pop music is eating itself. You know, people are not even hiding the fact that they're stealing whole melodies and whole verses and whole choruses and just changing them a bit and calling it something new nowadays. I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. What I'm saying is pop's kind of grown up, and along with that, and this is what I'm getting at, the music that people are hearing throughout their lives now is a huge mixture of old, timeless classics, because they wouldn't be using this music in TV, it wouldn't be trending on TikTok and crossing over into Instagram Reels and so on unless it was timeless classics. You don't get tracks dredged up from the past that aren't really, really, really good. So old, new, but new that has been written very, very much with a knowing look at what's come before, or some kind of mixture of the two. And so with social media, with Netflix, you know, Stranger Things, Deadpool with Madonna and NSYNC and so on, there's a lot of old records that are getting regurgitated, spat out again, and becoming popular all over again, and artists becoming popular all over again. And so with pop music being not at the cutting edge of everything now, you know, kids aren't divided into tribes. I don't know if that's around gaming now or what, but it certainly isn't around pop music. My kids are into everything, and they're old enough. They're at the age when I was getting tribal about my music. It just doesn't seem to be a thing anymore. So everyone's into everything. There's a real mix of old and new, and the people making the new music know damn well what they're doing in pretty set genres now, and they've got one eye on the past as well. All of this is creating something where, an environment where maybe it's not quite so important now to play the hits to your audience when they were young, because we're getting increasingly to an age that throughout people's lives, they're hearing all music, and we're moving from playing music that were big at one time to playing songs which are timeless. So in other words, we are moving along that continuum from the Groove is in the Hearts or the Bananarama Venuses, as DJ and Eddie Monsoon said, to the big hits like Sweet Caroline, Take Me Home, Country Roads, and so on. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. I'm going to read the whole thing out one more time, just for people who joined us late and who will want to comment when they know exactly what we're talking about. We're basically talking about hits of the time versus timeless hits. When you're programming a DJ set, what's the most important? Playing the hits that people remember from when they were young, or playing the timeless songs that everyone knows? Or is it a mixture of the two? And this is what triggered it, just one more time before we open the lines, so to speak. It was a comment in our community from DJ Eddie Monsoon, who said, anyone ever done a private birthday party and found that the music they want isn't what you expect? I know not all bangers work all the time, but which crowd of 30 to 40 somethings have never heard Groove is in the Heart or Bananarama's Venus? Anyone else had an experience like this? And by the way, they ended up going off to Sweet Caroline and Take Me Home, Country Roads. Okay, so there is our talking point of today. And so let's now throw open the lines, so to speak. We have got all your comments coming in, as we always have here, live into our system. So we will now spend the rest of our time together talking about this. This is a bit I look forward to. So hello to everyone who's joining us, especially to our new people here for the first time. Good to have you. So we've got Kesha and Mac and Jack and Baynard and D Sounds 45 and Kay and Kevin and Mike and Tyrell, and to Mixmaster G, good to see you here. Hope you had a good ADE. Mixmaster G, and to Lou, we are doing well, thank you, Lou. So Max says 3 words, and they're 3 very good words. Know your crowd. And if you don't know your crowd, get to know your crowd. There's nothing wrong with solving the puzzle of the crowd in front of you when you're a DJ. It's part of the joy of it. It's why our work is never done. You know, we can teach you everything you need to know about whichever piece of gear it is you've got, or whatever the software is you're using, or you know, how to set everything up and how to deal with the business side of DJ. We can teach you all that. You can know it's possible to learn that and then know it. It's finished, you know it. But we can't teach you about the crowds. And the puzzle of figuring out what to play for the people in front of you right now is something that's never ending. And that is why, as DJs get into their, you know, 5th and 10th and 20th and 30th and 40th year in this game, they're not practicing at home, worrying about the technical side of it anymore. Their sole concern is the crowd. And that's why DJing becomes something that you actually end up learning on the job all the time, 100% of the time. You're learning on the job, because that's the only place where you can learn, because you've learned all the easy stuff at home. It's the crowd in front of you that's the hard bit to teach, and it's the hard bit. It's a life's experience. It's what keeps it interesting for me anyway. So thank you for that, Mac. Know your crowd. Sweet and simple there. So this is from Sean, who says, this is why you ask before you start your gig, so you'll have a general idea. So Sean's point here is, if you're not sure what the crowd want, ask, find out. And there's certainly mileage in that. There are DJs I know, especially mobile DJs, who will literally put some music on nice and quietly at the beginning, and they'll go and walk around and they'll sit with the tables of people at the event, just getting to know them. Hi, I'm your DJ for tonight. What are you into? What would make you dance later? You know, give you an idea of what you like and what you don't like. But the thing is, you need to apply what we call the DJ's filter at that point. The DJ's filter is you realizing that just because the rock kids in the corner with their faded old indie t-shirts on, who are probably not going to dance all night, tell you that they want to hear Led Zepp B-sides or whatever, you know what I'm getting at. It doesn't mean you've got to play it. It doesn't mean it's a good idea to play it. There is a rule in DJing, which is always apply a filter. And even the people who book you might not know what they want. You know, I'll just play some good stuff. You know what I mean, but you don't know what they mean, and they can't tell you, because most people haven't got the language to explain what music they like in a way that DJs can really play off. So yes, it's certainly worth trying to figure out what your crowd like. But I think, Sean, the best time to figure out what the crowd like is when you're playing to them. We have another thing we teach here at the school, which is the dartboard method of learning about your crowd, which is early on, the first hour or two when no one's really dancing, as if you're playing darts, as if you're trying to hit every corner of the dartboard. But instead of numbers, it's musical genres. So you're going to play lower energy music in all the different genres that are possibly going to work tonight, and see what people smile at, what songs make people look at you, which songs get people tapping their feet, or even coming over and saying, oh, I wish you'd played this later, I'd have danced, because that's giving you an idea of the genres that might work later on. So thank you very much for that, Sean. So this is from Positive T on Twitch, who says, Eddie was playing for an age group, but it's more of a where you're at. Yes, that's true. And I guess that plays into what we're saying. It's nowadays maybe not so much about playing songs that are for people who are 30 or 40 or whatever age the birthday party was, you know, going back 15 years to when they were young, but more what they've been into all their lives, which could be before that and could be after that. True, good stuff. So Nocturnal Beats on YouTube. In my sets, I combine current hits, classics and emerging artists. It's good that you get to play emerging artists there. A lot of mobile DJs would say they don't do that. DJ Ed Lover, here's a good point. And this plays certainly into the fact that a lot of DJs nowadays think it's really important to get, you know, a member of a download pool and start getting modern remixes of older stuff. DJ Ed Lover says, I was playing a 50-year class reunion. I had classic mixes, but I realized I had classic remixes, but I realized they wanted the originals and they wanted to sing and not dance. So this is playing into what I was saying, which is sometimes a dance floor wants to sing along to music and just get purely nostalgic. The music becomes something that's not really for the dance floor, in other words. It's for a shared common experience, the terrace anthem kind of feel. You often get this at the end of mobile DJ sets, don't you? Where people are literally stood still with their arms in the air. There's no dancing going on, but there's a lot of singing going on. There's a lot of catharsis going on and so on. So thank you for that. That's cool. Now, if you are asking questions about something that isn't about today's topic, that's fine, but we won't be answering them today. Maybe someone will help you in the comments in those instances, just to let you know, people. We're sticking to our topic today. So this is from Danielle. Thank you, Danielle, for your comment, who says, mobile gigs, you play old and new, but you also play old tracks that have been included in soundtracks or TV ads recently. Oh yeah, for sure. That has and has always worked out for me, and I even do the same thing in clubs sometimes. Tracks blow up for all kinds of reasons, don't they? Like we were talking about Stranger Things earlier. You know, Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush is a good example. And you know, keeping an eye on Instagram trends, on what's trending on TikTok and Instagram Reels and so on, is a really good way of tapping into that, of course, because that's something that wasn't there even 5 years ago. But it is certainly how, you know, my daughter, who's 12, knows a lot of her music purely through TikTok. And I'm sure that the same goes up the age group as people cross over into Instagram Reels and so on. It's the same kind of thing. Those tracks that are being used for trends on those platforms are certainly ones that can work on the dance floor whenever they came from. But the tracks that blow up on those platforms tend to be the timeless classics rather than the hits of the time, or kind of forgotten classics that are soon to be timeless classics. You know, another good place to look for these songs is on your streaming service, places like Spotify, because their playlist, you know, anywhere where there is commercial pressure to get people to listen is a good place to look. So the people who compile some of the Spotify playlists, they're not all done by algorithms. The people who compile those playlists, their job is to get people to listen to the end of the playlist. So they're kind of like DJs without the mixing. And they're very careful with the songs they place on their lists. So if you go for a, you know, barbecue rock playlist, or you're scrolling through those moods and stuff, or you go for a sunset chill playlist or whatever you choose, you can guarantee there are going to be some timeless classics in there from that genre or from that style or that mood or whatever, old and new. So that gives you a chance to lift them and plonk them in your DJ sets, right? And they will also be including the songs that are trending on social and so on. Right, so this is from Mike on Facebook, who says, the songs from the 80s and 90s, etc., have been revamped to upbeat genres. Yes, they have, but they can be great, of course, for certain crowds. But as we've heard, other crowds just want to hear the originals. Dave says, pop feels so miserable now. I don't care about how depressed singers are now. And it seems to be a fight to see who can be the most upset. I think there's a pendulum, isn't there, that swings. But I know what you're saying. We were listening to the radio. I mean, pop music, I mean, we all get old. We all look back on our day with kind of rosy glasses. But I think there was a time in pop music where pop music was about escapism. And people, whatever their lives were, however hard their lives were, the artists were meant to step outside of those lives and perform. Whereas now I think it seems to be more like a confessional booth. Now it seems to be, certainly some of the time, more like, let's keep it as authentic as possible. And I ain't feeling good today, so I'm going to tell you all about that. Which is great. There's nothing wrong with it. But does it translate to the dance floor is the question. And maybe that's what Dave is picking up on then. So Stevie says, are you talking about commercial and underground music, Steve? Well, I'm talking specifically about mobile DJing here because our community member was talking about trying to get a birthday party rocking and having to, fall back on the sing-along songs in order to do so. So Kay says, since Beyonce released her country music, remember she did a house album before that, so Beyonce is definitely a modern, Renaissance artist who's jumping from genre to genre. Anyway, back to Kay. Since Beyonce released her country music, this is all that people are starting to go for now. So I think it makes sense that Eddie's comment kind of is true because Eddie, of course, was saying it was the country music tinged stuff that was getting people going. Yeah, so maybe country is just having a moment. Damien says, I like to put a raisin. I want to see where this one goes, Damien. I like to put a raisin between new songs during a set. Something that is a lot of years old and not a top tier track, but a well-known but rarely played song these days. So your little raisins, your little small but perfectly formed sweet pieces of fruit that you like to slot in between new songs in your sets are something that's old and it's not particularly well known, but it's rarely played these days, or rather it is well known but not played these days. So DJs, I think one of our jobs is to kind of like look for those slightly out of fashion gems that might be due a bit of a renaissance. You might not have Beyonce's reach and be able to make country music popular again for 15 minutes around the world, but you might be able to make your dance floor think, oh, you know what, I've not heard this for years and it's a great song. So yes, I think that's one of the joys of being a DJ, that you can have those kind of like forgotten gems. It's almost like having a new song in your collection that you just are pretty sure is going to work. And when you can have the when you can have the cojones, as they say in Spain, to play those songs and they work, it feels like nothing else. So yeah, I like it. Thank you. So Lou says, it's so funny how you said how kids know music 20 years before they were born. Sometimes I hear my 4-year-old son singing a song that's way before his time. I ask him, how do you know that song? And he answers, when you DJ. Well, that must be good to hear as well, Lou. That you're teaching your child, like literally actively teaching your child music that will probably shape their future. So thank you for sharing that. You don't like my music, says, personally, the only new music I listen to is drum and bass and jungle. Everything else are classics. So there you go. Showing exactly what you're into. And also says, and I totally agree with you here, if you're going to play anything by Bananarama, play Cruel Summer. It holds up. It does. Cruel Summer is an absolute classic. I have got a copy of that on 7-inch myself, so I have to do that. Big thumbs up to you on that one. So Charlie says, you can feel the dance floor is time for a change. Dropping a timeless classic at those points will blow the roof off. And DJ Akorit on Twitch, when the crowd has increasing musical tastes, or rather, I guess you're saying increasingly varied musical tastes, it makes it very challenging as well. What works for part of the crowd might not work with another part of the crowd. So let's do a bit of teaching here, because in our mobile DJ course, one of the things we teach is what we call the 15-minute rule, right? And the idea here is, remember I told you earlier about the dartboard method, where you imagine all the potential genres. Let's say you're pretty sure you're going to need to play some country, some hip hop, some dance, some pop, some 60s, all those potential kind of vibes. You play a bit of all of them early on. and you keep an eye on your crowd, and you get a sense for what kind of genres are going to work later on by doing that. Once you've done that and you've honed in on 2 or 3 genres, 4 genres, whatever it is, you play 15 minutes of each before you switch to the next one, and then you play 15 minutes and you switch to the next one. And that's allowed in most of the world when you're playing a mobile DJ set. That's fine. 2 reasons. One, people aren't like on, party pills and staying up all night. They need a rest. And also, not everyone's 18. They need a rest. And also, people are there to see friends and to catch up with people. They need a rest. They need time to do that. People want to go outside and smoke. People want to go and get a drink. For all these reasons, the dance floor is not where they're staying unless you're in a hardcore dance club all night. And because, as you say there, DJ Accurate, because you've got a wide variety of people in different ages, as in generations, different musical tastes. Maybe if it's a wedding, you've got 2 different social classes of family mixing. There's all these dynamics that make it very, very hard, which, by the way, is why I hate to hear DJs putting down mobile DJs and saying that's not real DJing, you're just a jukebox. They haven't got a clue. Anyway, back to what we were saying. When you're in that situation, it's absolutely fine to play 15 minutes of this, then 15 minutes of this, and 15 minutes of that. And you need to hold your nerve when you switch. Because when you switch, the people who've been dancing to the hip hop are going to get off because you started playing country. Then they're going to leave because you're back to pop. Then they're going to leave because you're back to 70s sing-along, etc., etc. But the point is they'll get used very quickly. 1, because earlier on in the night you did a similar thing. And 2, because after you've done it 2 or 3 times, they realise their music is going to come back. And people will appreciate you for it. And if you're in a venue where whether you get paid and booked again depends on how well the venue does, you are rotating the dance floor. The dance floor is probably not big enough to fit everyone on anyway. And if you got everyone on that dance floor all night, you might think that'd be great, but it's not great because people aren't buying drinks. So if you're rotating people from the seating area to the bar to the dance floor like this, you're doing your job. You're going to get asked back. So the 15-minute rule can help with that, DJ Accurate. Look, if you've just joined us, we're nearly finished here, but just one more time, this is what we're talking about. Oh, that's wrong, completely wrong. That was a failed AI prompt from earlier. Right, look, back here. Anyone ever done a private birthday party and found that the music they want isn't what you expect? I know not all bangers work with all crowds, but which crowd of 30 to 40 somethings have never heard Groovers in the Heart or Bananarama's Venus? Anyone else had an experience like this? They ended up going off to Sweet Caroline and Take Me Home, Country Roads. Go figure. Well, we have been go figuring, and you've been sharing some really good thoughts on this, so thank you, everyone. Right, so last few comments then. This one is from Budanova, who says, it needs to be a recognisable song. The crowd must be able to sing along without even thinking about it. Reading the crowd and what they're wearing is one of my indicators. That's a great move. I like that one. Thank you. And you may experience the transition, says the Ruckus, from the happy hour crowd to the early crowd to the late crowd. Oh, for sure, this is for certain. And you know this, of course, if you play long sets in venues. But also, let's say you're playing a wedding, then I think one good rule of thumb for weddings is play for the older folk first and the younger folk later, because the older folk tend to drift off. Maybe the slight break in that rule would be play for the kids really, really early on to keep them out of the way of the families and so on when of the older people when the older people are eating or drinking or whatever. But anyway, we're getting a bit into the weeds here with the specifics. We want to stick to kind of what we're talking about here, which is DJ secrets. Should you play hits of the time or should you play timeless hits, or a mixture of the two? The reason I began DJing and the reason I still enjoy DJing is playing great rare grooves that they haven't heard before that they really like. That's completely alongside what I was saying a minute ago, isn't it? One of the joys of DJing. Early teens, says Guilherme, want to hear the best songs in the beginning of the party, but if you play those if you play that, nothing works later on. Yeah, that's true. So you have to try, kind of have a mix, kind of hold something back. I know what you mean. That's certainly true. Charlie13X says soon AI will create guest-specific playlists. Maybe. I think there's always room for a human touch. AI can give you ideas, but you've got to put the sheen on it. You've got to put the extra bit that you're being paid for on top. It doesn't matter how far you get technically. If you can't read the crowd, you'll fail, says Loz. And I agree completely, Loz. That's why this is such a great hobby and such a great thing to do, even as a career, because you'll never become perfect at reading the crowd and you'll never become perfect at picking the next song. That's why we dream about it. Don't know about you, but I dream about emptying dance floors. I also dream about fantastic songs to play and wake up and think, I can't wait till the next chance I get to play that. It's the joy of being a DJ after all these years. Keith says, I'm still new to this, but I did a housewarming party for one of my daughter's friends. They're all 28. I discussed with the host what sort of music she wanted, and she said similar to what you did at the Christmas party. So it was a decent mix of old and new dance music. The finale was a few Taylor Swift and ABBA songs, as that is what is in their current faves. My pet hate, but well, it's never about you and your mobile DJ. For me, the learning point is to find out what age group are attending, what they want to hear, and also have some tracks ready for requests. It's certainly worth having tracks ready for requests, but this brings me on to another teaching point. Have a plan A, which is what Keith did, but also have a plan B. What would I do if that didn't work? Because, for instance, going back to our original kind of trigger, or in the AI world, our original prompt, our prompt for today's lesson. The DJ realized that the kind of late 80s dance music wasn't working and moved to 70s sing-along, right? That was a plan B. If that's been planned already, you're not going to panic as you figure that out and as you switch to it. So thank you for that. Eugene says, one rule of thumb, if used as a guide, especially with groups that include plenty of girls, is to ask yourself, what were these girls singing into their hairbrushes when they were in junior high school? Well, yeah, that always works. And it brings us on to the other rule, which is actually in our book, Rock the Dance Floor, which is if you can get the girls dancing, the lads will not be far behind. That certainly works in most Western cultures. Alex says, really helpful is to chat with the event organisers before, as they know their guests. I also use a mobile app where music requests can be placed and users can even rate them independently of an app. The DJ will learn the audience over the evening what is working well in combination with what requests are placed. And I love that feeling. As someone who was introvert, really, when I was going out as a teenager, I didn't have the confidence to just walk into a room and look for my friends. And by the end of the night, I felt like they were all my friends and we'd had a great party. It wasn't me. I couldn't do it. My head wasn't wired that way as a teenager. What I was very good at was getting behind the decks and figuring out what people liked to listen to. And by the end of the night, I had that warm feeling because everyone was happy and they were coming up to me and telling me they were happy. It was kind of my way of socialising as a slightly introvert, lacking in confidence teenager. And I think it's why a lot of us become DJs, to be honest, because it's our way of expressing ourselves and getting involved when maybe we're just not able to walk into a room like extrovert people are and kind of make it our own. Anyway, on that kind of deep note, which I didn't really intend to go off into, but hey, that's what we do here. I'm going to call it a day. Look, if you want to learn more about mobile DJing and about the right way to do it, how to mix and all that stuff with mobile, go take a look at our website, digitaldjtips.com. Scroll down past our fantastic complete DJ course, which is the place to start if you're new to all of this, and look for mixing for mobile and wedding DJs. Not only does it use the kind of music you're likely to be playing, but it shows you how to use club techniques, clever mixing techniques, but with the music that your dance floors want to hear, not with the music that will clear those dance floors. It's a very, very popular course, probably our most popular mixing course. So go take a look at mixing for mobile and wedding DJs if that's something that interests you. And I'll be back in 2 weeks' time. I might even be back in 3 weeks' time. Next week is our midterm holidays, which means we take a break. But the week after that, there's a chance I'm going to be somewhere absolutely top secret, learning something absolutely top secret, which I will bring into you not so long afterwards. But if I'm incognito, if I've got my dark glasses and my hat on and I'm shuffling through an airport to go and see something top secret, unfortunately I won't be here for Tuesday tips, but I'll know that a little bit sooner. Anyway, it's been a joy being with you today. Thank you very much, everyone who contributed. And I hope even if you're watching the replay, you've got something from this. You can still ask questions and contribute underneath. We read all the comments on all the videos, wherever they are. So look, for me, filling the studio, get good, get out there, make the moments, play those timeless hits, but also play the hits of the day. Find what works for you, read your crowds and have fun. Till next time, bye-bye.